I watched Inside Out 2, and without a doubt, the film is visually stunning in several aspects. The animation continues to enchant with its vibrant color palette, and the emotional complexity of the characters is portrayed in a way that resonates with both children and adults alike. The inclusion of new emotions and the expansion of Riley's internal universe are very welcome additions that significantly enrich the narrative. Additionally, the soundtrack is captivating and complements the scenes in a way that amplifies the emotions portrayed on screen. However, despite all these qualities, the film has its flaws. In Inside Out 2, there are moments that fall short and could have been better developed. At certain points, the plot feels a bit forced and predictable, especially when compared to the originality of the first film. Some of the new emotions introduced don't have as much impact and fail to bring significant change to the story. Hello, you are on Horse Animated, welcome! One of the things that bothered me the most about the new characters and emotions was Ennui, without a doubt. The only significant thing I felt about this character was the fact that he uses a cell phone to control the panel, just so he doesn't have to get up. When Nostalgia appeared in Inside Out 2, I thought she would have a more significant role. So, it was a real letdown to realize that she only appeared twice throughout the movie. I left the theater somewhat disappointed. However, when I got home and reflected more on the character, I began to understand that these two appearances actually made sense. After all, it's rare for a teenager to feel nostalgic. This feeling usually arises when a long time has passed, and we remember significant moments from the past. As a personal example, I felt immense nostalgia when I saw the character with the fanny pack in Inside Out 2. It was like going back in time and remembering all those mornings when I sat in front of the TV, watching Dora the Explorer and shouting out where the object she was looking for was. And I'm not even that old, I'm only 21. My nostalgia is usually linked to movies, cartoons, and series from my childhood. So, in a way, it makes sense that nostalgia doesn't appear frequently in the film. After all, it's an emotion that builds over time, and often we only notice its presence when something very specific reminds us of those moments that shaped our lives. Speaking of emotions, one that I really expected to see in Inside Out 2 is passion or love. I was too eager to see this emotion on screen, and many fans speculated that it would emerge on Riley's control panel. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Despite Riley being only 13 years old, it's precisely at this age that crushes and infatuations begin. The film itself references this by mentioning her special admiration for a video game character. Furthermore, the film highlights a top 4 of boys that Riley adores. Among these boys is Jordan, the same one from the first film. I'm mentioning Jordan because I really missed seeing him. There's even a short film called Riley's First Date, where Jordan visits her house to hang out as friends, suggesting they have a connection. I really wished we could have seen more of that friendship in the sequel. Regarding friendship, a notable absence in Inside Out 2 was Meg, Riley's friend from the first film who lives in Minnesota. She didn't appear. Seriously, I don't know if I dozed off at some point, but I didn't hear any mention of her. Did Riley simply lose contact with Meg after adapting to her new home? This would have been a super interesting and emotional addition, especially since friendship is a central theme in the film. Did Riley fear losing her new friends because she lost touch with Meg after the move? We'll never know. Furthermore, the film's pacing felt too rushed. Everything happened so quickly. Anxiety had barely set in and was already driving out the other emotions. The emotions moved from one area to another, stayed there for a few moments, solved the problem, and then moved on to the next. This gave a sense of superficiality, as if the film was just skimming over situations without truly delving into them. Apart from puberty, I really expected Inside Out 2 to address menstruation more directly, similar to how it was done in Big Mouth. The film realistically depicted how a teenager's mind copes with puberty's transformations and how emotions intensify. I expected to see Riley going through PMS, showing how she would deal with all these internal and external changes. I understand that Inside Out 2 focuses more on human emotions themselves rather than directly on the human body. However, integrating the theme of menstruation would have been a significant addition. It would have been fascinating to see how Riley's emotions reacted to this new phase of her life and how it impacted her daily life. I was curious to see how joy, fear, sadness, and anger would behave in the face of the hormonal fluctuations of PMS. Imagine the situations and challenges that could arise. Another point that really touched me, as a fan of this universe, was the profound absence of Bing Bong. I understand that he disappeared into the abyss of forgetting and became a lost figure in Riley's mind. But deep down, I held out hope to see him again. He didn't need to be in the control room, but could have appeared in a crucial memory that helped shape Riley's convictions. It would have been incredibly touching and emotional to see Riley reminiscing about her childhood with Bing Bong, reliving those moments of pure joy and innocence. The only mention we have of Bing Bong is a subtle Easter egg next to Joy's bed, a detail so understated that it almost goes unnoticed. It's truly a shame that they didn't include Bing Bong in a more significant moment. I understand that the memories that formed Riley's new convictions were those that Joy initially wanted to forget, which would make it difficult to fit in a Bing Bong memory in that context. However, I believe that a more poignant homage to Bing Bong's role in Riley's life would have added greater emotional depth to the narrative. Bing Bong's absence is deeply felt, and his memory, even if painful, could have brought a moment of reflection and tenderness for all of us, viewers and fans of this fascinating world. Despite the points that bothered me, Inside Out 2 remains an excellent film and actually one of the best sequels I've seen. Unlike other Pixar sequels, I always felt that Inside Out warranted a continuation. After all, the human mind evolves, and the emotions we feel accompany this process. And in this aspect, the film did not disappoint. The animation is even more stunning than in the first film, with marvelous settings that enrich the visual experience. Although I found the way they explored Riley's new mind areas a bit rushed, this expansion of the film's universe is absolutely fascinating. Each new setting is a work of art in itself, bringing a wealth of details that enchant and engage. One of the film's highlights is how brilliantly they handled the convictions that shape Riley's personality. The depiction of anxiety was extremely realistic and impactful. From the moment anxiety arises, it's interesting to see how it begins to influence Riley's life, especially because Joy, in a way, was leading Riley through somewhat embarrassing moments. As the plot progresses, anxiety begins to grow, trying to shape Riley's future and create a new personality in just 3 days. It's impressive to see how anxiety, initially intriguing, quickly becomes disturbing. The restlessness it generates is so intense that it becomes uncomfortable even for us, viewers. Even with these faster and hurried moments, Inside Out 2 is a sequel that is truly worth it. It captures the complexity of the human mind and emotions in a way that few animations achieve. The combination of deep storytelling with visually stunning animation makes this film an unforgettable experience. Showing anxiety in the heads of older adults, in Riley's parents' minds, was not only extremely necessary but also brilliant. This choice showed how much more mature and balanced the parents' emotions are. Anxiety is not part of the control center of their panel, it appears sporadically. I even remember a scene where Jill's, Riley's mother's sadness emotion says something like, "Long time no see, anxiety," indicating that this emotion rarely shows up. This approach highlighted the difference between the unstable emotions of a teenager and the emotional maturity of adults. Another aspect I loved was Riley's greater presence in the film. In the first film, she appeared, but the focus was on her emotions because they were introducing that fascinating internal universe. In this second film, we have a more in-depth view of Riley's daily life, how she interacts with her friends, and faces daily challenges. We see her dealing with her emotions in real time, which enriches the narrative a lot. I'll confess that I don't usually go to the cinema to watch animations because I believe many of them should be at least 2.5 hours long, especially Pixar films. And I'm already expecting someone in the comments to say that the film is only made for children and that they wouldn't sit still in the cinema for more than an hour. That's a big lie. Pixar has films that exceed an hour and a half and come close to 2 hours, like Ratatouille. Increasing the duration of an animation with an engaging narrative would only enrich the experience. Inside Out 2 is proof that it's possible to make a sequel that not only stays true to the original but also evolves and deepens in a significant way. It's a film that respects and expands the created universe while adding new layers of complexity and emotion. Pixar hit the mark by showing that even in an already explored world, there are always new stories to tell and emotions to experience. It would simply be lovely to have an Inside Out 3 because this franchise has immense potential for sequels. Following Riley's evolution is something that captivates us and makes us want to see more. This emotional universe is so engaging that I can't wait to see what an adult Riley would be like. Just imagine, it would be fascinating to see Riley in college, dealing with teenage crushes and facing the challenges of adulthood. The possibilities are endless. It would also be very interesting to see new emotions that were left out in the first film. This would bring even more depth and complexity to the story. We can imagine the introduction of emotions like passion, longing, or even more complex emotions that arise with maturity. Seeing Riley's emotions evolve as she grows would be a rich and fascinating experience. And it wouldn't be surprising if an Inside Out 3 actually happened. After all, the box office for the franchise only grows with each release. And we know that money is a big motivation for companies to invest in new productions. Look at Toy Story. Even after a dignified conclusion in the third film, the franchise was extended, and now they're even planning another one. When a sequel makes sense and enriches the universe of the story, it's always welcome. Therefore, continuing to explore Riley's emotional adventures would not only be lovely but also an excellent addition to the franchise. And in the end, it was worth every penny of my ticket, even with some moments that bothered me. But what film doesn't have its ups and downs, right? What about you? Do you share the same opinion? Or do you have a different view? Feel free to leave your comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the film. So, folks, those were my reflections on Inside Out 2. I think it's clear that I loved the film, despite the points that bothered me. What about you? Do you agree with my opinions or have a different view? Comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to leave your like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next video.